How do you perceive the trend of global markets for military aviation market?
Well, to continue, we think, although there are some in the near term economic challenges to all nations, the one thing that's true is that there are security needs of nations around the world, and they will need to continue to have the capabilities and the technologies that allow them to maintain their national security. So we see that continuing in a very clear path going forward, and we, Lockheed Martin, are a committed part of industry that will support all governments in meeting their needs.
Which markets till now have been the rewarding markets for Lockheed Martin Aeronautics, and which markets need more efforts and why?
Well, there's two aspects of that, both geographic and product. And I'll start with geographic. We've enjoyed the opportunity to have success globally. Certainly, starting with the United States, but internationally, we've had substantial experience and success with both F-16 and C-130 for many years, decades, and that is now we're embarking on that with the F-35, and taking us to a new level of experience and opportunity. From the product set, I mean, our major two thrusts are combat aircraft and air mobility in both the tactical and the strategic portions of that particular market. Combat aircraft, we have what we believe to be the finest fourth-generation aircraft in the world, the F-16, which continues to be modernized, and the F-16IN, which we've offered to the Indian Air Force, is the preeminent capability of any fourth-generation fighter in the world. We're certain of that, and we're very confident that the information that supports that point is being recognized by the Indian government. We also are the only producer of the fifth-generation aircraft, F-22 and F-35, and it is clear that all air forces will move towards fifth-generation capabilities at their earliest opportunity. So we feel that we're in a very important and strategic position, because we are the only provider of fifth-generation aircraft in the world. In air mobility, the C-130 has enjoyed a resurgence as the C-130J, which the Indian Air Force has purchased, is, for all intents and purposes, a new aircraft that has been developed within the last decade, and it is demonstrating its phenomenal capability with the latest technologies in the cockpit, in the propulsion, and in the payload delivery systems of any aircraft in the world. And we are seeing a very strong potential to continue to build C-130s for certainly at least for another decade as nations recapitalize their fleets. We're also helping the Air Force modernize the C-5 strategic airlifter, which is only employed by the United States Air Force today, but it's an amazing capability and essentially unparalleled in the world in terms of payload. It just set 42 world records in payload to altitude at a very efficient set of operations, because it has very modern, high-efficiency engines incorporated.
Which?
Well, one more point, if I may. But what's not often recognized is our involvement in unmanned aircraft. This is a strategic thrust. Much of our investment is in that realm, and when eventually the unmanned aircraft market emerges, we believe that we're positioned quite well to be a key competitor in that marketplace.
Which market has been the most rewarding around the globe since the inception of Lockheed Martin? That is post-merger of Lockheed Martin Aeronautical Systems and Martin Marietta.
I've actually covered a number of those. I would say, again, in nations now 25 nations have recapitalized their combat air or fighter forces with the F-16. We're in production now 30 years, and it is still going. And we're pretty confident that we'll continue to see production of the F-16 for quite some time. It's surpassing the expectations of many people, myself included, and what I would say is it's a tribute to the continuous infusion of new technology so that it is modern. And again, as I said earlier, absent only the advanced stealth of the fifth generation fighters, otherwise we would build F-16s forever. It's that good an aircraft and continues to be the benchmark for aero performance of combat air. So I would put that and the C-130 as maybe two of our most successful markets up to this point in time since the merger. The C-130 is really a huge success story as the value proposition. A lot of this has come through operations of air forces head-to-head flying the C-130J, the new model, in comparison to the legacy C-130s. And the value, the efficiency, the range, payload, performance is quite clear. The ability to fly at higher altitudes is also quite clear, and for that reason, is why we believe we'll continue to see a very strong demand for the C-130.
Can you give a glimpse of which all programs, innovations, and upgrades have been introduced by Lockheed Martin Aeronautics in the last 10 to 20 years, as also the level of market share gained by them?
Well, on market share, I would simply say that we are the leading competitor in tactical aviation combat fighter market, and among the leaders in airlift. There are few that, and no one has a capability that's quite the same as the C-130. So I think we have significant market share in both of those. The statistics can be evaluated or considered in several different ways, but suffice it to say we're a very major player in both of those markets. In terms of innovations, back to the F-16, some of the capabilities that we see in the F-16IN are a very clear and dramatic example of the innovation that we've been able to incorporate on an existing platform. If we look at the fifth generation fighters, both the F-22 and the F-35, here we've brought together for the first time advanced low observability and what we call sensor fusion, in which many different sensors, electronic sensors, are combined and integrated so that the pilot is presented with very meaningful information for him to be able to perform his mission, so he doesn't have to spend time interpreting data as was the case in earlier aircraft, but he can simply perform the mission. The data is analyzed and integrated and presented to him in a very informative fashion. But even some of our older platforms that are still in operations, the U-2 is one in which we continue to incorporate advanced capabilities and sensors on behalf of the United States government.